In 2019, WeWork was valued at $47 billion and seemed destined to dominate the world. However, just a few months later, what appeared to be Silicon Valley's biggest success turned into one of the biggest crashes in modern business history. Today we'll reveal how a shared office company almost broke the startup economy, and why the dream crumbled so quickly. This is the complete story of WeWork's rise and fall. The story begins in New York in 2010. Adam Neumann, a charismatic entrepreneur, and Miguel McKelvey, a talented architect, had a simple idea: transforming spaces into modern, flexible, and inspiring shared offices. The proposal was revolutionary for the time. Instead of long and bureaucratic contracts, companies could work in cool environments, pay less, and grow quickly. And soon, WeWork began to stand out. The young, modern, and collaborative environment attracted startups, freelancers, and even traditional companies. But the real explosion came when Adam Neumann started selling an idea far bigger than reality. He wasn't just leasing desks, he was crafting a narrative, a modern-day fable for the lonely, ambitious millennial. He understood that in a world of digital disconnection, people craved genuine community. And he positioned WeWork as the answer. For him, WeWork wasn't just an office company, it was a global movement. He spoke of the We generation, a collective of creators and entrepreneurs united by a shared purpose. The office was merely the stage for a much grander performance. It was sold as a lifestyle, a holistic ecosystem where your professional and personal lives would merge seamlessly. WeWork offered more than a place to plug in your laptop. It offered kombucha on tap, yoga classes, and an instant network of like-minded peers. It promised to make work less of a chore and more of a calling. It was framed as a revolution. Neumann declared WeWork's mission was to elevate the world's consciousness. This wasn't about subleasing square footage, it was about fundamentally changing how humanity works, lives, and connects on a planetary scale. The rhetoric became something almost spiritual. Neumann, with his flowing hair and messianic stage presence, wasn't just a CEO, he was a guru. He cultivated a cult-like atmosphere, where employees and members were believers, and the company's mission felt sacred. This grand, world-changing speech captivated billionaire investors. They weren't just buying into a real estate portfolio, they were buying a ticket to the future. They saw in Neumann a visionary founder in the mold of Steve Jobs, someone who could bend reality to his will. Especially Masayoshi, son of SoftBank, who famously invested billions after a brief meeting. He believed WeWork would become the next Facebook of the physical world, a company that would define the next decade. This massive infusion of capital wasn't just fuel, it was validation. It signaled to the world that WeWork's epic valuation was justified. The problem? Beneath the layers of hype, the core business was dangerously simple and far from revolutionary. WeWork was, in the end, just a company that rented and sublet spaces. It signed long-term leases for huge office floors, on the hook for rent for 10 to 15 years. It then chopped them up and sublet them on flexible, short-term contracts. This created a fundamental mismatch: long-term liabilities and short-term unreliable revenue. But it was sold as a tech startup. The company built an app and talked about data and community-building algorithms, wrapping its old-fashioned real estate model in the language of Silicon Valley. This allowed it to command a valuation dozens of times higher than its competitors, who were doing the exact same thing. At the height of the hype, Adam claimed that WeWork would change the way people lived, worked, and even how they related to each other. The We brand expanded into co-living apartments, a children's school, and even a wave pool company. The narrative was that WeWork wasn't just leasing offices, it was building the physical social network for a new world order. And for a while, everyone bought it. The valuation soared to an astonishing $47 billion, making it one of the most valuable startups in the world. The hype machine was running at full throttle, and it seemed unstoppable. Armed with an unprecedented war chest from SoftBank, Adam Neumann was no longer just building a company, he was trying to conquer the world. Masayoshi Son, SoftBank's founder, had famously told Neumann he wasn't being crazy enough, urging him to pursue growth that was 10 times bigger, faster, and more disruptive. This directive lit a fire under Neumann, transforming WeWork's already ambitious expansion plans into a full-blown global blitz. The new mandate was simple: grow at all costs. With billions available, Adam Neumann accelerated this expansion in an almost irresponsible way. The company began a frantic race to plant its flag in every major city on the planet. New locations were being signed at a dizzying pace, often without proper due diligence or market analysis. The focus shifted entirely from profitability to pure, unadulterated scale. WeWork opened new spaces even before guaranteeing they could be profitable. In some cases, Neumann would lease entire buildings, far more space than they could realistically fill, simply to dominate a neighborhood and appear bigger than any competitor. This strategy meant WeWork was taking on massive, long-term lease liabilities, often 15 years or more, while its own revenue came from flexible short-term memberships. It was a fundamental and deeply risky mismatch. As if this hyper-expansion wasn't enough, Adam also began diverting capital and attention to a bizarre collection of side ventures under the We brand. He launched We Live, a co-living apartment concept, We Grow, an expensive private elementary school, and even Rise by We, a luxury gym. These were strange, capital-intensive ideas that had no direct relation to the core business of office space. While the world saw a visionary expanding his empire, few people realized the truth. The company was losing staggering amounts of money. The unit economics were broken. For every dollar WeWork earned, it was spending $2. The cost of acquiring, renovating, and operating its lavish spaces far outstripped the revenue from memberships. Practically every building was a drain on the company's cash reserves. But the glamorous presentations, the loud music at company-wide events, and Adam's magnetic charisma successfully hid the real numbers. He wasn't just selling office space, he was selling a story, a movement. Investors, employees, and the media were captivated by the spectacle. This created a dangerous feedback loop. The more money WeWork lost, the faster it seemed to grow, and the higher its valuation climbed. The company was celebrated as a tech unicorn, a disruptor on par with Amazon or Google, when in reality, its business model was closer to a traditional low-margin real estate company, but with Silicon Valley-level spending habits. The cash burn was astronomical, but as long as SoftBank's checks kept coming, the party raged on. By 2019, after years of relentless cash-burning expansion, WeWork was facing immense pressure from its investors, especially SoftBank, to deliver a return. The logical next step, and the only way to raise the colossal funds needed to continue operating, was to go public. The company filed its paperwork for an initial public offering, or IPO, targeting a staggering valuation of over $47 billion. This was the moment of truth, the point where the company would have to open its books and expose every detail of its operations to the scrutiny of Wall Street and the world. And that's when the entire house of cards, built on charisma, hype, and borrowed money, began to crumble under the weight of reality. The catalyst was a document known as the S-1 filing. Required for any company going public, it's a comprehensive prospectus detailing everything from business models to financial health and potential risks. When WeWork released its S-1, the market finally saw behind the curtain of the tech narrative. The reality was horrifying. The document revealed astronomical expenses and a cash burn rate that was simply unsustainable. For every dollar WeWork earned, it was spending $2. In 2018 alone, it lost $1.9 billion on $1.8 billion in revenue. But the financial losses were only part of the story. The filing also exposed a labyrinth of dubious corporate governance. Adam Neumann had structured the company to give himself 20 times the voting power of a regular shareholder, ensuring his ironclad control. He had also personally borrowed hundreds of millions from the company, and had leased buildings he owned back to WeWork, creating glaring conflicts of interest. But perhaps the most absurd and tone-deaf scandal to emerge was Neumann's attempt to charge his own company for the right to use its name. Through a holding company, he had personally trademarked the word We. He then tried to sell the rights to that word back to the We company for nearly $6 million. Yes, the CEO wanted the company he founded to pay him millions for the right to use the name WeWork. The backlash was immediate and brutal. This single act, more than any spreadsheet, symbolized the unchecked ego and greed at the heart of the company. Investors were utterly shocked. The public was outraged. Neumann was eventually forced to return the money, but the damage was done. a company that had sold itself as an innovative, world-changing tech unicorn, was revealed to be a deeply unprofitable real estate business with a high-risk model and catastrophically problematic management. The carefully crafted illusion was shattered. The financial press, which had once celebrated Neumann as a visionary, now turned on him, dissecting every line of the S1 and uncovering more questionable behavior. The narrative had flipped overnight, from a story of visionary disruption to a cautionary tale of corporate excess. After the numbers were revealed, investors fled altogether. The company's valuation plummeted from $47 billion to less than $10 billion in weeks. The IPO was canceled. Employees were laid off. Offices were closed. Billion-dollar settlement, a stark contrast to the relaxed. To leave, the founder even received a billion-dollar settlement, a cruel contrast to the laid-off employees. WeWork didn't completely collapse, but it became a shadow of its former self. Today, the company continues to exist, but far from the glamour of the past. The story of WeWork isn't just about a company that failed, it's a valuable lesson about business, investments, and corporate illusions. Lesson number 1, growth without profit is not a strategy. It's dangerous. Lesson number 2, charisma doesn't replace results. An inspiring leader can mask real problems. Lesson number 3, governance matters. Without control and transparency, any company can lose its way. And finally, there is no technology where there is no technology. Renting buildings will never be as scalable as an app. WeWork could have been a solid, profitable company with a huge global impact, but like many stories in the business world, it ended up destroyed by haste, arrogance, and the illusion of infinite growth. If you want more stories like this, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Until the next episode, and thank you for your attention.